Thank you for downloading this podcast from the British Theatre Guide. For more information about British Theatre Guide, please visit britishtheatreguide.info. The Tiger Lillies is an Olivier Award-winning and Grammy-nominated musical trio whose style is, as you will hear discussed during the following interview, difficult to describe, but their latest press release describes them as the forefathers of Brechtian punk cabaret, a term coined by performer Amanda Palmer to describe the music of the Dresden Dolls, and as having a style that merges the macabre magic of pre-war Berlin with the savage edge of punk. After more than 30 years of success around the world as a live band, as recording artists, and as part of several theatre productions, including the Olivier Award-winning Shockheaded Peter on the West End, the Lillies' latest collaboration is with visual director Mark Holthusen and writer Peder Bjurman on a story set along the Mexican border, Corrido de la Sangre, which will be performed as part of the Viva Spanish and Latin American Festival 2018 at Home Manchester. A few days before the production opened, I spoke to two-thirds of the Tiger Lillies, Martin Jacques and Adrian Stout, and asked them first of all to explain what this show is about.
Okay. Anyway, so what's the show about, Martin?
Okay, well, do you want me to give you a little plot?
Yeah,
it's a plot thing. It's written. You see, it's actually that we have a writer, and he wrote a story. And it's we start off as a band, and we're dead, and we sing about the Day of the Dead, and we're dead, and then we go from dead to the sort of the beginning of the story, because it's like a cycle. It's kind of constant cycle, and so I'm an orphan, and my parents leave me, and I've got an accordion. I play in the street, which I did, and then I get a little band together. Which I did, and then when we start playing in little bars, which we did, and then the bars start to grow, and we start to evolve a following, which we did. But then it changes. Then it's
right.
not.
That's where the autobiography.
Maybe
we get into metaphor.
But maybe we would have actually. This is what would have happened if we'd been in Mexico, in a border town in Mexico. The drug lord comes, sees us play. Rather than a record company, I suppose. Probably as morally good as one another's, anyway. So the drug lord comes and sees us play, likes us, and we start writing songs about how wonderful he is, and this is what tends to happen in Mexico on the border.
Yeah.
Just on the border, by the way. It's not the whole of Mexico.
Yeah.
It's just on the borders. Because we actually went to Mexico, and there wasn't much drugs going on around there, was there?
Not at all. A lot of cats.
It's just this is a bit of a racial thing going on there, because it's not all drugs. But anyway, on the border it is, and so we so I start singing praise to the drug lord, and I'm supposed to sort of sing songs about how terrifying he is and blah blah blah. But being a rebellious spirit, which I am, I actually don't really like him very much, and so we kind of get behind this woman, Maria, who's actually sort of standing up to him because she's being bullied by him as well, and he's kind of forcing her to marry him and stuff, and so we kind of get behind her a bit, and we end up getting killed. She ends up escaping and killing him, and so then we're dead. And that's like the start of the show.
So every year we return on the Day of the Dead to tell the story over to people as a sort of a cautionary tale, I suppose,
right?
In some sort of sense.
Yeah, because up to then it sounded like a big action movie.
Well, there's lots of there is very hopefully very dramatic points in it where there's a lot of jeopardy in the story. The drug lord's very powerful, and we're
story.
We're working for him, but we want to escape, and she wants to escape, so we're plotting a way out of this impossible situation. So in the story, the stakes are life and death.
Yeah, and most of the shows of yours that I've seen, other than when you've been on the West End, you don't leave a great deal of room for action, though. So I assume it's mostly told, is it, or is there some action as well in it?
We went to Mexico, and Mark Holthusen videoed, shot a lot of puppets. We found a puppet maker, so we're using a Mexican tradition of storytelling with puppets, which is how in the 1920s there was they didn't have access to Hollywood films and cartoons, so they would tell stories with puppets. So they had whole fleets of trucks that went out and told stories to Mexican people using puppets.
Yeah.
So where we went to was Huamantla or whatever. That was the centre of puppet production, and they would go out and tell these little stories. They tell all kinds of stories. They do Warner Brothers. They do Walt Disney cartoons, but puppets because they couldn't get the movies. We saw puppets for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. There's all Shakespeare. They would tell everything with puppets. So we're using that kind of tradition of telling a story with puppets. So we've got videoed puppets in the show that are there to do the dramatic acting, if you will, and we're the narration. But we're also characters as well. So there's puppets of us in the show.
Right.
So they've got little puppets of us, and they've got puppets of the various characters: the drug lord, Maria, the witch. Various people are in the show, and they're going to be projected.
What's it like meeting a puppet of yourself?
Quite scary, actually.
we had some Czech guy. He did it, didn't he? He made us.
People have made us into.
We've got. I've got a whole collection of puppets for me at home. I've got all stuff from Shockheaded Peter and onwards. So I've got a whole collection.
Yeah.
In one corner of the room. It's just quite funny. Yeah. It's quite hard to think that, and they look different through the years as well.
Yeah.
Because my makeup's changed. Well, my makeup's changed. I wear so much makeup, and you can't really. Well, I mean, you can tell I'm old, I suppose, but I do wear a lot of makeup on the stage, but that's changed through the years. So
yeah. And Mexican border is quite politically sensitive these days, isn't it?
I think it's definitely.
Does that have any impact on the show at all?
Not really. If I get killed on stage, and you got to die sometime. might get a bit of PR from it, but I don't think it's very likely.
Yeah,
really.
I think Mark uses a representation of one of the possible border walls that Donald Trump wants to put up in one of the scenes. He's taken one of the potential things, and he's using it at one point where they're talking about the border, crossing over the border. So he uses that, as a sort of a nod to that kind of what's going on.
So the audience might read more into it than you're thinking of.
Oh no, I'm thinking about it. No, I'm thinking about it quite a lot actually. The whole thing with the border, and I'm singing about the border, and so that's definitely got that. Yeah, definitely crosses over.
Yeah,
because obviously that's one of his big things, isn't it? The border.
Yes.
And this is from the other side. This is Mexican, but I mean but obviously they think about him as well. I mean so it's quite I do think about him and in the show.
Yeah. Hard to avoid, I suppose, isn't it?
It's hard to avoid it, really.
Are these all brand new songs for this?
Yeah.
So you've been working with a script writer. How does that work with you? You're working with a script writer.
Well, it's sort of it's the best one. We've worked with him before. Peder, he's done a lot of work. He used to write for Robert. Well, he still does write Robert LaPlage, and he's a writer. So he's good. He's a really good writer. But I sort of write these songs, and then he writes the script. And then I sort of tailor the songs a bit to fit, and even wrote a few songs specifically to fit into it, So, and we actually were working with another writer for a while, and I wrote a few songs, and then I actually had to cut all those because he was Mexican, and he became he published a book and became quite well known. So I had to cut all those songs because actually that would we might have gotten into some kind of copyright problem. So I actually had to cut all those. But it works fine, and I just sort of fit the songs into the plot, and I sort of got rough guides as to. And so I write the words, but they kind of they sort of fit into the plot. But it's actually funny because there's a couple of the last show we did was Edgar Allan Poe, which is going to be done at the Queen Elizabeth Hall in London. And that's actually two of the songs that are in this were written for Poe,
right?
But Mark nicked them, and from that show, and put them in this show because one of them's called El Dorado. which is actually a poem.
Yeah.
And the other one is called Sancta Maria, which I've changed to Sancta Muerta, but it's actually again, a Poe lyric or poem. So we've even got a little bit of the Poe coming into this one,
right?
But the songs are basically sort of kind of go along with the plot.
Yeah. And when you come to the music, I noticed in the PR stuff, Adrian, you're down as like the proper musician.
I wouldn't go that far, but I tend to play a lot of different instruments to kind of support, to try and make it as varied and as interesting as possible. Martin's got the job of singing the songs and accompanying and like writing the songs, and I try and enhance, create a nice atmosphere for each one, and so I have to switch around from bass to theremin to saw to bit of guitar, so I can kind of add something different to each song, so they're not all just the same. We try to avoid just having the same three instruments through the whole show. It can work. I mean, it works well in some contexts, but I think as we've gone on musically over the years, we like to be able to take the music to different places. When we did Shockheaded Peter, it was just accordion, bass and drums every song, really, wasn't it? And now we do different things. We try and break things up a bit more and just offer alternative musical areas that we can explore. I'm using loop pedals and stuff in this show where I put the bass on and then play saw or something else, so that frees me up a bit, but also creates a different sort of texture.
Your little corner of the stage is getting bigger and bigger, isn't it?
It does get kind of, sometimes I have quite a lot of things kind of going on over in my bit, really. So it's just nice. I think it just makes the songs more varied.
And some of the instruments that you play, even for musicians, they're not easy. I remember years ago reading, do you know the band Portishead? They had a hit with a song that supposedly used the theremin. And I remember reading an interview saying that he found the theremin too difficult to play, so he ended up faking it with an analog synth. It's hard to play the theremin, isn't it?
It's hard to play well. I mean, you can make noises with it. I know John Spencer has been making noises with it, just like squealing noises, but to play it musically, especially with Martin, such a good singer, to kind of play it, at least not sound hopelessly out of tune. It does take a bit of practice, and you've got to be got to kind of not play too much. I think it's about creating atmosphere and underplaying, but then you've got to try and be in tune as well. So it is a tricky instrument to play really well.
And the saw as well. Who'd have thought the saw could make such a beautiful sound?
Marlene Dietrich used to play the saw, so it's there's lots of people have sort of used it, and it's got a nice eerie sound, which obviously fits a lot of the themes that we explore. We're always kind of in that sort of slightly spooky kind of netherworld. So the saw has been a good instrument that kind of over the years has sort of. There's usually somewhere where we can sling a saw in, to try and make the song even more kind of eerie and ominous. And especially in this song, in this show, where we are like crossing over from life into death as well. There's quite a lot of saw opportunity.
Well, there's quite a lot of saw opportunities in Poe as well.
But he was also dealing with a lot of all that, wasn't he?
That was all pretty, death as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, a lot of your shows do deal with
we're
hideous deaths.
We're definitely the death merchants.
Death merchants.
So where? Obviously this is written to a particular story or theme, but where does that imagination come from? Where do those themes come from?
Oh, well, I suppose it depends on what kind of person you are, really, doesn't it? I suppose, if you're a big, teeny pop star, you're not going to touch death with a barge pole, are you? Sing about, love and arses and whatever. That's what they sing about, isn't it?
Happiness,
fucking, all that kind of stuff, But we're... I'm not. I was never really, interested in that kind of being a pop singer or anything. So I sing about things that we all think about, especially as we get older. We think about our mortality and death and things like that. So it's just that's actually I think what I sing about is much more normal, really, than what pop singers sing about, really. In reality, that's maybe when you're very young, you do just think about love and arses. as you get older, I think you start thinking about other things, and that's what I sing about.
Yeah, death in horrible ways sometimes, and Jack the Ripper, and
but death is usually fairly unpleasant.
Well, yeah,
and quite bizarre sometimes. I always like that TV series. What was it called now? 6 Foot Under, where I don't know if you ever saw that, but it was
set in a funeral parlour.
It was great because at the beginning of every episode they had a different death.
Yeah.
And it was really good. It was very funny because some of the deaths were really bizarre.
Yeah.
And so that was quite fun, But I mean, it's not. I don't just sing about death, I sing about other things as well, like it's not just death, and also there's humour in it as well, black humour as well, I think. Yeah.
When he brings one of the songs to the rest of the band, how do you generally react to there? Ever any songs where you say,
it was more fun? Well, actually, I got two. It's funny, you just triggered me there. Could on two things. The bass player, there was another bass player before Adrian, and I did a song. I remember I wrote a song, and he actually refused to. He refused to play on it, and I knew that was the end. We parted company soon after. Adrian's never actually refused to play, and I think it's a real problem if you're in a band and then someone starts saying, "I'm not playing." I mean,
because of the subject matter.
So you're setting yourself up as the censor for the. So I'm not having that.
You're not being censored.
I'm not being censored. So that's one thing. Ah, shit, I was going to say something else as well, but I forgot what it was, so maybe you can say something.
Well, when we get songs, you kind of have to give them a chance, really. I think the thing is, a lot of songs, Martin doesn't know if they're any good. Yeah. We have to play them. You have to try and kind of give them as much kind of, help as you can. Yeah. And then you kind of see what happens to them. Some of them develop and some of them die. It's a sort of process. We drop songs. Sometimes songs in a theatre show just don't seem necessary, or you need new songs, so you have to get rid of something else. So it's just a process where you just when Jonas and I get songs, we try and kind of think of an interesting arrangement. Try and think what we do. Martin quite often has an idea of what he'd like to hear on it. Yeah. I'll have an idea, or I'll try and kind of suggest something. So it's a process of just trying to trial and elimination, and the fact that we've been playing together a long time, you pretty much know what kind of area we might be in. But then it's about you try and do something that's different or not really. But I'm always just trying to do the most simple, supportive thing really that was just going to help the song really. Yeah. That's my primary concern. Is like, how can this song kind of be helped through the birth canal? You just don't know, but
You're thinking more musically than thematic.
I don't think thematically. It's not my business to think thematically. I'll try and kind of assist making the song work, whatever it is, really. Yeah. That's the main thing.
You seem to have quite a wide range of audiences. You get middle-aged, middle-class people, and you get
always the good thing about what we do, I think, because we have
different countries as well, really. Yeah. The age changes from country to country as well. Yeah. So in generally, I would say in the Eastern Europe, where we're very popular, or in Mexico, where we're very popular, which is one of the reasons we're doing this, is because we've got a good following there. It tends to be younger, and there tends to be more of an older theatre-going audience in Western Europe and in the United States. I was going to say in the United States, but in the United States probably a bit younger again, I'd say.
It's a bit of both as well. Yeah. I think it's also because we've never really done theatre shows in Russia or anything. We've only done concerts, so we're kind of known that sort of concert thing, whereas in England and stuff, we've done quite a lot of, we had done quite a lot of theatre, and we don't need a huge amount of touring, so that's kind of, we built that kind of audience up. But it's just the way the press deals with us as well. I mean, in other countries they sort of treat it as a music band, and in the UK we tend to be treated as a sort of band that does sort of theatre stuff, really. Yeah. So it's about kind of how people are
also about
perceived
success.
We've had success with theatre.
Peter was quite successful. Yeah. That was and then we've gone and played in places like Russia and Greece and Mexico, and we didn't do Shockheaded Peter in those countries. So as Adrian said, we're more like regarded as being like a music. Just doing music there.
Yeah, when I first saw you in concert in Edinburgh, I think it was about 2001, I remember I was chatting to your previous drummer afterwards, and he was saying that you were going to India at the time with Shockheaded Peter. So how did it go in?
It didn't happen.
It was true. I mean, it was true though. We
were talking. We were supposed to do the film there, weren't we? We were supposed to go to shoot a movie with an Indian director. And then it unfortunately just one thing didn't lead to another. It was nice, really we were really kind of looking forward to it.
Interesting.
They had a whole completely new idea of how to do the film, but like a lot of things, it was like we had it just didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
It was a nice idea, though.
Yeah, it was a nice idea. God, I've forgotten about that completely. But nice idea.
It's one of those shows that could easily be revived, though, because a few shows from that era have come back in big West End shows. Because it was great.
Yeah, well, I'd be happy to do it, but I'm not sure some of the other people would be very. Some of them sort of tend to hate each other's, as tends to happen in life, I suppose.
Yeah.
And so I'm not really sure if it could work. It would. Yeah. It would happen.
Yeah.
You have to get all these people back together, and as I say, that might not be. Yeah, some of them. Yeah. So I don't know, but I'd be very happy to. I'd be very happy to redo it, especially if we do it slightly differently, but keep the essence of what was great about the original. Be interesting and fun, But who knows? Who knows? Where
do your stage personas come from? I mean, yours is the obvious one, but even in the background, you do have a stage persona, don't you? It's like
being on stage. I think really, it's just you just do things. I mean, you just do stuff. I mean, when Adrian Hughes was in the band, it was like very obvious he was like the funny one, wasn't he? Because he was always kind of doing kind of funny things.
It could make a whole drum kit collapse in slow motion, which was impressive to watch.
So I kind of almost reacted, to try and batten the opposite of that, to be more serious, really. But then when he left, I kind of became a bit less serious, because then the new drummer we had for a while was more serious. It was,
very serious.
He was very serious. He was a very serious, like musician, very good, jazz drummer, but different kind of performer.
Yeah.
And now our drummer now is quite sort of funny.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of, I'm hopefully kind of got a bit of both, really. So it's just, I think you just try and find things that work. We do so many gigs that we just, it's just, again, just trying things out.
Yeah.
We don't tend to try and intellectualise things too much or rehearse things too much. We just do. Yeah. We try and go on stage and do something interesting.
Yeah. Well, Martin, you've got a definite character and a definite sound as well. So how did that develop for you?
I thought it through. I actually decided to sing in a high voice, play an accordion, and I thought it was an original sound, and I wanted to do something original.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was the way to becoming successful, and I was a bit naive, I suppose, because generally am a rather naive person. I think I thought being original was what it was all about, and actually I found out that it actually, certainly in the music business, or the music world, even the alternative music world, it's not really about that. It's actually filling in ticking the boxes.
Yes.
You've got to look a certain way. If you look a certain way, you make a certain kind of. It's all worked out because there's a lot of money involved in it. It's a big business.
Yeah.
I mean, make a lot of money from the music world. So it's all about ticking the boxes. And even the alternative music world, you still have to tick the boxes.
Yeah.
I unfortunately didn't tick enough of the boxes really. So, but we kind of got picked up by the performing art world,
right?
And the sort of arts festival world, because they thought, they don't tick all the boxes, but they're sort of quite weird. So maybe they're sort of art or something, And so we, I don't think they were ever quite sure whether we were, but they picked up on us, and especially one person called Michael Morris, who was actually the producer of Shockheaded Peter, and so we kind of found a little niche, and But yeah, I did sort of, I did do it. I thought it through, but the whole kind of sound, you know, it was very much like, you know, a double bass, drums with brushes, accordion with a high voice. Yeah, that was the kind of, you know,
it was a whole concept.
It was a whole concept. Yeah, and and I mean it's worked out really. It's kind of worked out really well anyway, because I mean it's like we're still here. We're still here 30 years later. You know, and we're still, an achievement. You know, making a lot of, and we've made a lot of albums. You know, done a lot of interesting projects. And this is another one, you know. I think it's really interesting and looks like it might be it's looking quite promising. I think it could be. We don't really know yet because we haven't done it. But it looks like it might be. It's feeling and looking like it might actually be a really good show, you know. So so fingers crossed. Yeah.
I was talking to someone this morning saying that I was doing this interview, and they said, "Oh, I don't know the Tiger Lillies. What type of band are they?" And I was really struggling because it's hard to compare with anybody else.
Well, that was the concept. Yeah, I really was. I didn't want to be like anyone else. I wanted to be unique.
Yeah. You were too successful.
Sorry,
you were too successful.
Yeah, in a way. But then on the other hand, we were, because we are in a way. I think in a way we are really successful. Yeah, you know, because we actually. We've got like a fan base, and you know, and
it's not classifiable. It's not just doesn't fit into any slots in the record.
Well, the press releases sort of dance around Berlin, Cabaret, Brett.
Well, it's just so many things. I mean, that's the thing about the band, is that it uses so many different influences. It's got the German, the French, the Mexican, the Russian. It's got punk. It's got everything in it. So because we draw on so many different, most people draw on rock music, and or electronic music, disco or something, whatever they rap. Whereas we kind of draw from all these different traditions. Most of them are European, but some of them are not, and they're kind of and also you got humour in there as well, which is always makes people uncomfortable. As soon as you start using humour in music, they sort of start to think that this is kind of not
credible,
credible in some way or another.
We've had like journalists come to see us play. Music journalists. Like, I remember in the earliest we had some journalists come to see us play from the NME, and I thought, oh, that'd be nice. Yeah, they did. I think they came and saw us play, and they really liked it. They never wrote about us because it was just. This was my fundamental error. I think was that I actually thought that we were making music, which music journalists would be interested in writing about us, but actually they weren't. Because for them it wasn't the genre.
They couldn't classify it.
Completely different.
It doesn't connect into their narrative of what they're trying to promote each week of indie guitar rock or rap, hip hop or something. If you kind of don't fit into those categories, they can't connect it up, make it look like they've got some kind of grand overview, and that they're sort of defining the music zeitgeist or something. We're outside of that.
I think we're actually, in a lot of ways we're actually more edgy and more subversive than these bands that are supposed to be edgy and subversive. I think I think these sort of, I don't know.
They're just quite conventional. They use quite conventional instrumentation, quite conventional song structures and themes. I mean, they're still talking about love. They're still talking about rock and roll, or they're still talking about something something in a way that's been done a lot. There's nothing kind of out there necessarily. These bands that say they're not rock bands, when you look at them, they're rock bands. There's no, but they keep saying, no, we're not. We're artists. We're different from that. We're not trying to be that. But
they're perceived as
they're perceived that, but they are. They have bass guitars and a rock drum kit, and someone playing a keyboard and a synthesizer, and they do these things in a very sort of conventional way.
But we're not bitter.
No, not at all. No. We would never be bitter.
But there's a new sort of Puritanism. I mean, it's right that certain people are being picked up for certain behaviour in the arts and in business and everywhere. But with that has come a sort of Puritanism that you are definitely going against as well. So have you felt any backlash for the themes, the sort of themes that you cover, the sort of things that you sing about?
I think I think we're. I mean, it's pretty smart the way it all works. It's a sort of sensor. It sort of censors itself. So, it's like we're obviously we're in a little back, artistic ghetto backwater, and we had a journalist yesterday say, I talked to some of my music friends who are they're music fans, and they don't really fancy coming to see the show because they don't think it's really music, so they kind of they've done a pretty good job, in a way. I mean, it's like the fact that these enemy journalists come and watch it. We even had that guy from The Observer, didn't we, with the funny haircut? There was some guy that used to do all the stuff, and he came and saw the show, and he really liked it. He was just sort of sat in the front, was laughing and enjoying himself, and he was having a great time. But he never wrote about it. It's the same thing, and he's written about all these bands, and so it's kind of like it's a sort of you're sort of it's clever. It's sort of pretty sewn up, really. It sort of censors itself. You're not part. You get someone like what's the guy from The Simpsons?
Matt Groening.
Matt Groening. He actually had us come and perform at a rock festival. And we performed it. What was they went bankrupt?
It was the All Tomorrow's Party. Sort of
they went bankrupt shortly after they had us. But which I'm sure is completely not related at all, of course. But anyway, he actually, because he really liked us and he thinks we're really funny, but he put us on at this rock festival. But it's only someone who's not in that world that actually thinks they're a band and puts us on at a big rock festival. But the whole that world, I think it's so. I get bored talking about this. Shall we just move on? Shall we? It's getting a bit. We're going around circles. But it's just funny. It's sort of funny how it works. There is some sort.
We're still outsiders after 30 years. We're still outsiders. We will always be outsiders in some kind of way or another, and we found a different place to do our stuff, which is theatre. So now we're outsiders in theatre, but at least we've got a bit more of a recognition that what we do is somehow legitimised. That what we do, hopefully people will come and see and enjoy.
And we're kind of like now. So now we're a cabaret band.
Yes.
Which is like, well, actually, no, we weren't, and we aren't. But that's again, it's just this way of they need to put you in boxes, and if you don't fit into the boxes, then you're always the outsider, So, but it's good to be an outsider, especially if you can make a living from what you do. It's probably not so good if you can't make a living from it. And there's a lot of outsiders that can't. He's got one. He's had a what do you call him? Flatmate for about the last 10 years, and he can't make a living from it. And lots of people can't. Fortunately, we're lucky. I think this is why we're quite. That's why I mentioned we're quite successful in a way, because we actually
we're optimistic. We do things. Hopefully, that we do good stuff. We do interesting work and stuff, but we're just very outside of some of the areas that we probably think ordinarily you would be kind of encouraged and supported in.
People can't even make up their mind about whether we're successful or not. I've seen this on Facebook. You get someone say they're so underrated. They should be so much more. And then someone else turns around and says, underrated? They're incredibly successful. They're really lucky. So people can't even make up their mind whether we're successful or not. Really, because it's just two ways of looking at that. You can say, well, look, they're real outsiders, and they make a living, so they're really successful.
I think underrated is one of those words that people use to make themselves look as though they've discovered something.
I think lots of people actually like. I remember when we did that Matt Groening thing. There were all these people saying, "Oh shit! Now they've been now we've loved them for all these years, and now they're going to
now they're famous.
Now they're going to become famous and recognised." But they were wrong. Didn't make any difference. Or maybe we probably made a few more fans, I guess. That's it.
So you've got this. This is in the Spanish festival here. It opens in 2 days. You're still not sure how it's going. So what stage are you at with the?
Well, we won't be sure. We won't be sure how it's going until we play in front of an audience. That's you can't really. You can't really get. That's when you get the real feel of how good something is.
We've played the songs for the last couple of months on tour, and they've been working well. But it's more than just us playing. There's all the visuals and the narrative, and everything has to kind of work together. So, I mean, we're 90% sure that it's that it's going to work because the songs are good. But then there's always that bit where if something doesn't quite connect somehow to an audience, then they might, we have to see. But I mean, I think it's going to work because the visuals are really great and they're looking really amazing now. They're, on the big stage because we've been in rehearsal a week and we know the songs, go down well. Set's really nice. I mean, I'm sure once we get it all together, it should be.
The set looks good even without anything on it, projected or anything. And so there's all these projections, which is supposed to be the big sort of theatrical element of it is the projections, but the actual set, I was really pleased with this. I thought I only saw the set yesterday. Actually, the set looks really nice as well. So, but as I say, you can't really get a feel for something until you start performing in front of an audience. In front of an audience, and we've done the songs, so we're feeling quite confident. But it's all got to come together and then work as a piece, and that's a sort of a magic which sometimes you have you've seen a lot of shows. Sometimes they're magical, aren't they? And sometimes you can't even put your finger on why they're magical.
That's right.
And actually, probably that's actually nearly always the case. And we don't really know whether it's going to be magical or not yet. We can't know. It looks like the elements are all there, but will it be a magical show or will it just be? It's going to be. We've got to put the elements together, but we don't really know. You can't know until
with a show like this. Is it likely to change at all after it opens? I suppose it's more difficult with a show like this than it is with a concert to make changes. But do you make some tweaks?
I think the only changes you could probably really make are cutting. Really, it's sort of we might. I think it's still possible that we might, but it doesn't really fit at this point. It feels everything is good and strong and right, but it's if it sort of feels wrong, maybe we could cut something.
We could cut a song. Maybe the video's too much. Maybe they want to cut the video. There's various little pieces that you could sort of take out, and I don't think we'd add anything because we've already kind of got enough. I think there. It's just whether we're going to kind of take something away to tighten up the story, or maybe we just don't need something in the context of all the other songs. So we'll see. I mean, the editing is possible.
But I probably wrote 40 songs, and we're using like 19 of them. So there's a lot of cutting has already taken place, and we did perform in front of an audience in Mexico when we went over to Mexico, and we played it to a small audience of fans in a chapel in about 3 hours outside of Mexico City, and that was really, again, as soon as we performed in front of an audience, I then cut songs and changed songs, because I thought this is actually it was more the end. It was great up until about 3/4 of the way, a lot in, and then it started really going down, flagging. So I kind of changed. Really been working on the end now. I'm trying to get that to work as well. But it's really, as I say, it's really about the audience. You work and you put it all together, and but how's it going to pan out when you've got an audience in front of you? And that's something you never know.
No. So you always seem to have a full schedule on your website, full touring schedule. So what else have you got coming up?
Well, the other thing we're doing is a show. I'm sort of getting to that age now where I'm starting looking back, remembering things. Right. So I started doing that with Soho. We did an album about called
which was here not long ago, wasn't it?
We did it here. Okay, So we're starting looking back. I've started looking back on that. That was about Soho, but then another. So I'm sort of thinking back to those times, and the other time was we spent a lot of time in the Czech Republic, in Prague, and touring around the Czech Republic and all this, and so I've written another collection of songs about the Czech, about that and about that time, meeting all the people, because it was a bit like it's a bit like Paris or something, wasn't it, in the 1920s? You know, it was one of those times where all these...
Everyone sort of rushed into this vacuum after the Velvet Revolution. They suddenly saw there was a place they could be free and express themselves, and there wasn't anyone kind of watching over them. And they went there to be writers and entrepreneurs, or just to kind of get wasted, and just all sorts of things. There was lots of people suddenly they felt they needed to be there. So we were kind of there.
You lived there, didn't you? You lived there for about, how long was it?
5 or 6 years. Later on, we all sort of went there. So we used to play a lot in these places. We played a lot in the Czech places with like Czech squats and bars that were owned and ran by Czech people, and we also played in expat places where like Canadians and Americans we knew had started up like bars and stuff like that, and we went out to the countryside and we played in weird towns like Žatec and all these other places, which were kind of very places that no tourists ever went to, and playing like rock clubs there, because they had that tradition of alternative music and things.
There were no tourists there, you know. That was the funny thing. No tourists. You go there now and it's like it's hell. It's like just horrible. So many tourists. Oh God, you know, you've got to Charles Bridge. Have you been to Prague?
No.
It's hell there. There's just so many tourists. It's a nightmare. But when we were playing, there were no tourists at all. There were no tourists. It was weird. There was just there were a lot of people there, weren't there? A lot of foreign people there. Coming, but they were all like the freaks and weirdos, punks and whatever, and so we went there. So I've written a thing, and then we're going to do it with an orchestra, Czech orchestra, and we're going to do a show, you know, with an orchestra and do an album, and then we're going to tour it as well, go to other countries with an orchestra. So that's the other project we've got for this year, apart from this.
And we're doing Edgar Allan Poe at the South Bank Centre in late August. We're doing our Haunted Palace show, which is
that's a new show as well.
Quite a new show which we're doing with actors. It's got a couple of actors, and it's sort of telling a kind of a sort of a strange version of Edgar Allan Poe's life, but more sort of weaving in his stories in his life. So it's not a biography. It's a kind of a strange kind of hybrid of sort of some of the events in his life, but combining them with some of the stories that poems that he wrote. So we're doing a sort of theatrical version of that material. So we're doing that at the end of August in the Queen Elizabeth Hall. So you've got a fair bit of
another 3 albums
things going on.
The usual.
Corrido de la Sangre, featuring the Tiger Lillies, will be performed at Home Manchester from the 20th of April to the 5th of May 2018 as part of the Viva Spanish and Latin American Festival. They will perform Poe's Haunted Palace at London's Queen Elizabeth Hall from the 28th to the 30th of August 2018. For more information, see www.homemcr.org or www.tigerlilies.com. You've been listening to a podcast from British Theatre Guide. For more information, please visit britishtheatreguide.info.